Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Car Design Dialogues Europe. I'm Christopher Ludwig, editor-in-chief here at Ultima Media and Car Design News. Pleasure to have you with us. I hope you have your morning cup of coffee. Unlike my colleague Abel Sampson, I'm not going with the British theme. As we're looking across Europe here, it's going to be a really fun and exciting day. For those of you who were with us yesterday, of course, we had some design reviews from Tata, from Skoda. We talked across different cultures. Today, we're going to be hearing from the likes of Volvo shortly on the latest electric vehicles. We'll be going into Toyota's ED Square studio and much more. For those yesterday, we really enjoyed our multidisciplinary look at car design. We put it in the context of art, culture, other influences coming in from technology. And I think one of the things I want you to pay attention today is we're bringing that to you in such an interesting way, particularly with the world of gaming. We'll have some design reviews from Ford and Jaguar for vehicles designed specifically for gaming, and what an exciting glimpse into this process it is, and the digital possibilities across the industry. That will be alongside lots more panel discussions on technology and materials, on many topics besides. We're going to finish the day as well with a fireside chat with design legend Patrick Lecoumont. We'll be going deeper into his career and the many themes that have changed and influenced car design over the decades and looking ahead. Just want to welcome you once again to our event, our digital event platform this morning and today. Quick guide tour around you. Obviously, here you are in the main stage where you'll be finding our design reviews and most of our panels. But we're also going to have a couple of more, let's say, called intimate suites. If you go to the left side, you'll see the suite section. For example, today, right after our Fordzilla design review, you can hop into the suite and spend a bit more time with the team, asking them more questions. We'll have a coffee session there as well later. Draw your attention as well to our expo area. Click to the left, go to the expo and visit our sponsors. They've got great solutions, technology, and insight to share on car design and car design tools. Don't forget to take advantage of the networking tools across this platform. There are many. If you click up onto the top above the chats, you'll find opportunities to look at who's on the platform. You can send messages, set up meetings, and network. So make sure you take a chance to do that. Put your questions throughout the day. We love the interaction. We love when you correct us. We love when you challenge our speakers. So please, use the chat function and put your questions, including in our upcoming session. We're going to be running more polls as well throughout the session. So if I can actually kick us off there, I'm going to ask you where you are in the main stage. Right next to the chat, there's a poll, a button for polls. So click on the poll there. I'm going to ask you the first question of the day. We'll take a number of the polls today. And the first question is, for today, which global challenge will have the most impact on car design? And the answers, as you can see there, are urbanization, climate change, population growth, post-COVID recovery, the digital economy, or is it something else? And in fact, if you think it's something else, go ahead and write that into the chat. So pop over into the chat and tell us what you think. So we'll leave that open. We'll come back perhaps a bit later after our first session and check some answers. But vote and let us know what you think. We're really interested. We had lots of polls yesterday, and we'll be sharing some of the results with you later. Okay, and with that, welcome again to our event, and I'm really looking forward now to move us into our main event this morning, where we're going to be teleporting into Gothenburg to talk with the Volvo team. And it's really exciting because we have not just Robin Page, the head of design for Volvo Cars, but he's brought so much of his great team with him, including from exterior, interior, materials, and UX. And we're going to be shortly showing you a film about the new C40 Recharge, as well as some insights on the XC60 Recharge. Because as you know, Volvo is a brand very much in transition, on the path to electrification. And these are some key models which signal both the heritage of Volvo's design language, some DNA tracing right back to the P1800, and looking at new features right across in the Scandinavian design, human-centric design that the brand's so known for. But I'm gonna cue up the video now and let the team take you more deeply behind the scenes there. Stick around because Robin and his team will be here afterwards taking your question live for a great Q&A.
So behind me is the new Volvo C40, and we're going to go through today the design story behind this car, meet the designers, listen to the inspirations behind their work. We're going to start with exterior, move on then to interior and colour materials, and really understand their inspiration from nature and light. Also talk about sustainability and using natural materials. We'll move on to then the user experience, so connecting the mobile phone really with the car, and also using the Google Assist with our new system. Now, the C40 really is a new vehicle for Volvo, but it enhances and encapsulates the benefits of an SUV. So that's the easy ingress, egress, the high seating position, and the versatility, which really connects with the lifestyle of our customers. Yet this is a sleek, dynamic, modern car. Now I have Tijan here with me from Exterior Design. Tijan, let's maybe talk about that sleek, dynamic line that we have on the C40.
Well, I mean, the starting point of any good exterior design is with the proportion, and that's essential in this car, meaning the profile of the vehicle. We've established in the market a super successful XC40, where the play upon that vehicle was sort of this tough little robot that had a lot of attitude. And I think this vehicle somehow captures even more character with the roof line. And this came from the initial sketch, really.
Yeah. And then just how this project started, because I know that a lot of projects start through, of course, a strategy and a design brief. But I have to say on this one, it really did start with a sketch.
I mean, when that sketch was created by the designer, it was like, wow, here's a no-brainer. I mean, it was compared nose to nose with an XC40. So that really led us into development right away. And what we tried to play is take all the successful elements of the XC40 design and really how do we capture them in this vehicle? And one of the ways we did that was playing upon this painted roof or the different color roof. That sets up an architectural item. So we have this one line coming down the belt and up the C-pillar, and then really the clamped roof that plants the car design.
And that gives it the strong graphic between the roof and the lower part, and makes it easy identifiable as this strong Scandinavian design, because it's simple, but it's the strong graphics.
Yeah. And when we talk about that clean lines and clean form language as well, one of the attributes in XC40 that has such strong character, again, is this sort of monolithic approach. One of my favorite sculptors is Brancusi, and he really plays upon that monolithic sculpture in his work. And I see that here as well, which we're very inspired by having this more or less one volume, and then we use and carve through sections. And it's so clear and obvious of a theme in XC40 and C40.
And that's the beauty. So we're taking almost a solid form, carving away the material, and from that it creates then the clean graphics of the car.
Yep. It's a very logical, simple theme setup for the entire car. Yeah. So you see that in the body side, like I just mentioned, but then you also see it in the main theme of the shoulder that wraps around into the front of the car.
Great. And now let's talk about the front, because I know certainly our philosophy with Volvo is about strong light signature, the Thor's hammer. So we keep that with this car, of course. And I think it's also plays the importance of light with Scandinavian design, this strong element of light that you recognise the car. What about the rest of the front? I mean, we have now the electric face. I mean, this is a full electric SUV.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the challenges in this vehicle. How do we create this electrified expression, sort of this efficiency in the vehicle? When we start with the nose profile, it really carries on a similar character to its older brother, let's say the XC40, but with a closed grille.
Yeah, we've taken out the grille frame around it, really gone flush and modern.
Yeah. And that's, again, communicating that efficiency in the front. It also helps above the grille itself. We have one line coming across above the headlight, which I refer to as kind of an eyebrow. It gives a structure to the eye of the car. So the facial expression is still there of this very menacing and powerful front end. And when you combine that with the lower wings on the front of the vehicle, that really helps plant and set the car architecturally on the ground.
So in the front, with the lights as we were talking about, they have the latest state-of-the-art pixel technology, which is great. How does that play out on the rear? I mean, we have a very strong DNA identity of the vertical tail lights as that comes around. Yeah. But we did a little twist on the rear lights.
Yeah, I mean, we have our extended roofline profile that goes from above Thor's hammer in the front all the way kind of up and over the roof and down the rear taillights. And what you'll notice for the first time, we've really taken our vertical signature and laid it down onto a coupe profile. And that's definitely something new for us. I mean, Volvo really is clearly identifiable in the rear with his vertical taillights, much like Thor's hammer in the front. So we have a very strong lighting identity. And we did a bit of a twist with this on the C40, where instead of a solid line up the whole play, we did a segmented approach on the vertical element. It's a very big lamp, but it allows us to do quite a sequential welcoming light, which is quite cool.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, we did a whole journey with the engineering team because it is such a big lamp, but doing the segmented light, I think, helped with that, but it gives it a very modern graphic, which is identifiable for the C40. Yeah. Now, it's one of my favourite views from the rear because, of course, we also encapsulated that width of the car. How did we do that?
Well, I mean, again, it's to the lamps, where the SUV bigger brother, let's say the XC40, has one vertical lamp that goes around to the side, but we've decided to swing it back and clamp the puzzle piece, or shield as we call it, in the rear that's between the taillights. And that shield stretches all the way out past the trunk opening into the lamp area with body color elements there. So that's how we're really getting that ultimate width view in the rear.
Cool. And then looking basically at the side of the car again, I mean, the car is sat on some really nice modern aero wheels. Tell us about them.
Yeah, I mean, the stance of the three-quarter view in the rear is impeccable. Again, accentuated from that wide rear tail lamps, but again, it's planted on these beautiful wheels. You can correlate the connection between what we showed design language-wise in our 360C concept with this very solid architectural approach. And we've done a 5-spoke version here to be a bit more dynamic, which plays with the C40 itself.
Fantastic. Great. All right, so I think now let's maybe move on to talk about the interior and colour materials. As I said earlier, it's really about now listening to the story of the designers, about how they've been influenced by nature and light, similar to exterior design, and also their take on sustainable materials and using natural materials.
Let's talk about interior design and color materials. But first, let's talk about nature, Reka. What a beautiful backdrop we've got today.
It's so beautiful today out there.
I just love the contrasting seasons here, living in Sweden. And the light is very special too.
Even when I came to Sweden first time here, nature stood out for me. It's magical and it's give you different kind of energy altogether.
C40 is a very bold and confident design, and on the interior, it's described by the key pure lines in the design. So for example, the instrument panel has a continuous graphical window in which the technical elements, such as the vents and the screens, we work to embrace that within that continuous line. And then in between those elements leaves this area where we can really showcase the deco material in a beautifully concave surface with some light. Tell us about the deco, Rekka.
Yeah, deco is a very unique element for us in this car. It is a combination of the technology and the design. And my specialist, she got inspired from Scandinavian landscapes. How you see the pattern which has been digitalized, and it's unregular and it's abstract. And when you backlit, you see the magic, how it came out. We were really surprised, and it really fits very well inside our interior, and it gives you a very light feeling.
It's a topography graphic where the light comes through the layers, isn't it? It's really beautiful. So other than space and a calm purity, we're also really looking for functionality in the interior, and C40 here has really good examples of functionality. So for example, the door pockets, they're really usefully large due to the fact that the speakers are positioned in front of the instrument panel. The tunnel also has very good functionality. It has the wireless phone charger in the front. It has a small closed storage, as well as 2 very good cup holders, and even tissues and a place for a trash bin. Super practical.
Yeah. But tell us about the process, Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely, because the process that we use is really important to help us feel connected with the space and determine the areas of reach and where the functional elements should be. So we use full-size clay models, and there we not only can find the space, but we really get the attention to detail and the craftsmanship into all the surfaces. And then we also use virtual reality, so state-of-the-art in the goggles, where again we can get a really good sense of the space and even try lots of material options.
Yeah.
So Rekka, in order to protect our nature, let's talk about sustainability. There's some really good solutions in the C40, right?
Yeah, I have to say for C40, my color material team, they tried as much as sustainable solution we could provide in this car. Some of the examples, the carpet, it is made from 100% recycled PET bottles.
100%, that's good. And
Yeah.
it's nice and soft as well.
Yeah, we are proud of that. It has been inspired from the exterior color. We call it fjord blue because it is inspired from the fjord and constant water in Scandinavia. It has a very rich feeling because we added fluid pigmentation, no coarse flakes, and it has little greenish tint, which gives it a sophistication, modern, bit sporty look. You can see this carpet, it is coming on the door, it's coming on the tunnel console, and inside the interior, you see it is having quite a dipped feeling on the exterior and interior. And this would be one of our hero launch spec. Then I give you another example of our premium Taylor wool blend seat, which has natural renewable wool fibers. You know, it has really a nice good comfort and super soft wool touch. It is one of our premium upholstery which we really love. Now I will share another exciting seat which has no leather. We have used a super sporty expression through sustainable materials. We have used the combination of suede textile and smooth microtech material. And this suede textile, it comes from recycled fibers and PET bottles. It has super soft touch and feel because it has microfibers. Lisa, you might have also noticed we have added light color piping and contrast stitching to enhance our attention to details. And it really gives you a super cool handcrafted look inside the interior.
And it's lighter weight than leather, so it's a really good premium alternative.
Yes, and we really want to give this alternative solution for our future cars as well.
So now we get a chance to talk about the user experience with the car. And I'm here with Tom, Head of UX Design for Volvo. And Tom, we thought we'd start this one actually in a living room environment rather than in the car. Why is that?
Exactly. It's to show that we're thinking first and foremost about our customers and how they go about their daily lives. And, you know, when you start a trip, you're always at home. And we're thinking about how to connect to the car from home. Mm-hmm. So we're building features into our app that let you start the car remotely, get it heated up and warmed up and comfortable for you. And we're going to continue to evolve that over time. But you do that from home. and not from the car.
That's good. And just talking about Scandinavian design, because we've been working with or talking with the exterior team, interior colour materials, and they've been talking a lot about this philosophy of taking things away and simplifying things, and really bringing to the surface the important features for the customer. And is that the case with our user experience?
That's exactly right. We really think about the customers and what they're doing and what their goals are. And we really try to look at how do we simplify all of the complexity that's coming to the cars. You know, we have a lot of sensors, there's new cameras, there's lots of applications, especially with the new systems that are coming out. There's more and more capabilities. And this is going to be overloading very soon. So what we want to do is really think about the essence, think about how can we bundle things in the smart way and take away that complexity of management, make it, you know, a really great experience, and let people just get on with their lives and have a comfortable ride.
So with our new C40 then, of course, the experience starts with the mobile phone.
Yep.
They can set their heating and lock the car, set their route for the day, and then that really plays out into the car, which you're going to now take us through and just demo how really the user experience plays out from the phone into the car. And also we can talk about Google Assist as well, which is a feature that we can go through.
Absolutely, we'll try those out in the car now.
Cool, let's go.
Hello, now we're in the C40 and I'm going to talk to you about the in-car system that we've been working on. So this is the Google Android system, and one of the great things is that there's going to be apps available. And here we have the principle of connecting to your home. And your home life is filled with different apps and things you use. So like when I've set this up, I've put my Spotify application over here. So the same music that I have available at home or on my phone when I'm on the run is available in my car for me whenever I want. And I didn't even have to connect my phone. It's just available. And of course, with the Google system, the other thing that's available is Google Maps. That gives you really efficient directions to wherever you're going. Now, one of the things that are really great is there's a number of features that make it easier to own an electric vehicle. So sometimes when we've talked to customers, they have some questions about where do I charge my car and those kinds of things. Well, you can just ask Google. Charging stations show up, you can get very quick directions to them. And so it's all available right there for you. The other great thing is that there's little details in Google Maps. So for example, you can get the charge level that you'll be at when you reach your destination, which is really good for planning long trips and knowing if you have enough power to reach your destination or if you need to charge on the way. So some really smart things happening there to help simplify the complexity. We've also looked at things like the settings to make it easier to understand, combine things and keep all of the capabilities, but do it in a really smart way to take the hassle out of managing your car. And finally, we have Google Assistant that I want to take you through. Some really great features and capabilities in the car. It allows you to control the car and do various actions without ever taking your hands off the wheel or your eyes off the road. You can give it basic commands like, hey Google, can you start the seat heater?
Okay, turning on the seat heater for the driver.
Helps you control your comfort. You can, of course, control music and other commands in the car. And there's one more thing, of course, you can do to have a little bit of fun in your car. Hey Google, tell me a joke.
Why did all the students eat their homework? Their teacher told them it was a piece of cake.
So we'd like to take you through the design of our new XC60 Recharge, which is the car behind me. And I have here with me Tijan, who's responsible for the exterior. And we'd like to take you through a bit of the design story and detailing behind this car and how we've taken it from what is a very successful XC60 and updated the design with even more refinement. So Tijan, tell us about the main character of the car.
Well, the XC60 is plenty of character. I mean, when we first put this car out, it was, in a sense, to create this really agile and dynamic character, very much assimilated to an athlete. And one of the ways we really do that is we have two main character lines down the body side, one originating from above the headlamp, going directly into the DLO, and the other one then picking up underneath and acting like a tendon or a muscle.
And that's something that's key to us, is actually the form language behind the XC60. And it's really about creating those kind of muscular tension lines, almost like athletes really trained up with that potential energy about to kind of jump from the sprint block.
Yeah, I mean, as every car we do, stance is really critical for us, but definitely in the 60 cluster throughout, and that muscular tension line combined with some other elements really help make the car look like it's ready to lunge forward. One of the other elements on XC60 that makes up this car completely is what we call sort of this bow and arrow approach to the side. So the rear lamp is like a triangle or a recess or a boomerang, let's say, from a side view, and it really puts this tension into the vehicle like it's going to lunge forward.
Fantastic. And I know as a design team, we always talk about being able to kind of sketch the front of a face of a car with just a few lines. And that's something I think that is really clear on here, that you can walk away and then just like sketch that kind of front key lines.
We see a definite face in this car where we have the eyes, the hammers there depicted, and then the front lower is really these wings of this A-shape coming down, and it's quite pure and simple.
So let's move to the rear of the car. I mean, this is again a fresher look, nice clean. We've taken away the tailpipes, for instance, because this is electric based.
Yeah, as we come to the rear of the car, as normal for Volvo and our real strong identity, we have vertical tail lamps. In the XC60 in particular, we have a long vertical and then a horizontal clamp. And everything's built around this, what we call a puzzle piece in the center. We can also call it a shield. But it shows this interlocking lamps to that shield and really is put there to accentuate the width and add this architectural feel to the structure of the rear.
So I think that gives a nice summary of the changes for the XC60. I think now we go over to our colour materials and talk to Rika about the introduction of a new seat for this car.
For XC60 Recharge, we wanted to bring a new premium feeling through our sustainable materials. The material which we have used for our seat, it has been inspired from the Scandinavian living room, like the way you see here on the sofa. It's a very cozy wool touch feel, and similar feel we try to give on our seat. And we get a lot of inspiration from how we live every day. The rooms are really clean, calm, confident, but at the same time you have a lot of warm and cozy feel. Here is the seat, and my team tried to give it as much as clean and elegant look the way you see in Scandinavian design. Here we have tried our fantastic material, which is Tailor Wool Blend. It has natural wool material, which has a very good inbuilt quality. It keeps you warm when it's cold outside, and it keeps you cold when it's warm outside. Apart from that, we try to make it like a very minimalistic but very premium rich look through giving tone-on-tone stitches, which is highlighting here. And also we try to give like a less is more kind of a feeling. And this is really a premium alternative to the leather upholsteries, and it is light in weight, which reduces the energy consumption. This is the material which is sustainable. And this is something which we really believe in at Volvo Cars, that we should provide in our future cars as well. It came out really fantastic.
Okay, so now let's bring the designers that are presented today together, and we can go through a Q&A.
So So stunning and beautiful, calming, a fantastic insight into these two products. I'm so pleased to welcome to the Volvo team. If we can bring those up on screen. Thank you. There's Robin, Tijan, and Lisa. And we know we also have slightly socially distanced, but we'll be in the Q&A. Rika and Thomas as well from Materials and UX. So we'll take questions for everyone. We'll focus a bit right now, perhaps on the design vision, interior and exterior, whilst we have the three of you here, and then we can bring in Rika and Thomas. Robin, I want to just start with you, kind of pulling back slightly. Obviously, both of these models are electric, but one based on an existing XC60, the other obviously kind of revamping the XC40 with the existing platform. As you transition, as you look towards your Volvo's electric future, how important with these models is it now to sort of set a design language and theme that you want to carry forward?
No, good question, Chris. I think, Volvo is on a journey. We've put out there by 2030, the company will be full electric. So this is part of that journey. And I think for instance, the C40 is a great example of our stepping stone journey towards full electric. And I would say there's some key indicators with the design. I mean, you've got the front grille. Is absolutely one strong indicator of electrification. Obviously, we removed the tailpipes. We have a sleek body line that really captures that kind of aero feel and performance, of course, because that's key to electrification and range. Also, things like aero wheels are also playing a fundamental part as an indicator towards that journey. And then the UX experience, that's why we wanted to show the video with a focus on the user experience, because that is also part of this design language and moving forward with how you kind of approach the car, how you connect with the charging, and also how you find the charging points on a journey. So that was key. And then finally, sustainable materials. I mean, that's absolutely a big part of heading towards, again, lighter materials, more modern materials, and also tackling this big issue of climate change. So I think it's a really good indicator of the journey we're on, and also shows how we're heading towards the full electrification for the brand.
Great. We're going to spend a little bit more time on each of those topics. I think we at the CDN were slightly relieved when the Google joke. We think our wit might still survive the automation of that AI. You said it started with a sketch. So I don't know, either Tijan or Robin, did you know from that sketch that this was going to be kind of a take on the XC40 or a turn or did it kind of become there from the sketch?
No, I mean, maybe I'll take that one first, because I always get excited when projects start from a sketch, because there's a level of real emotion and connection from the designers. You know, the character comes out in a sketch. Of course, we need to then go to the business and align with the basically the team that looks at the cycle plan and the production and of course the economic effect of bringing in a product into the cycle plan. And then eventually align with the executive management team, and then it becomes a live project. But it's more the fact that the project starts with a sketch, has that real connection to emotion. And maybe Tijan, you want to add to that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, there are many ways that a product hits the portfolio. And I think in particular, this one really started with that nose-to-nose sketch, as we showed in the film, where it's taking what attributes that were very successful about the XC40 and relating them in a more efficient profile. And I think that's a sign of straightforward thinking from our company purpose for being personal, sustainable, and safe. And this plays upon a bit of the sustainability and electrification for us as well, where it's an exciting era to be a car designer, also probably most challenging, I would say. But with challenge comes innovation. So throughout our portfolio and throughout the industry, we see a lot of new archetypes that have started mainly because of electrification and efficiency. And as we look to the future, it's an exciting time to see new archetypes develop. For instance, what is the sedan of the future and how does that relate to this product? We're looking at new archetypes and roof lines and such, which is an exciting opportunity to see a lot of new vehicles in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to touch on that roof line, Tijan. Do you see that as a real distinctive feature, kind of to take forward in this sort of, as you say, I think a fast-backed kind of a new paradigm, if you like, for a model?
Yeah, I do, really. I mean, it's again, like I mentioned, with this sustainability effort and target from a company that we really believe in. There's not too many companies out there that have a clear company purpose. So that one element, in addition to the personal and sustainable attributes, that roof line is essential for upping the CD values on our vehicle. So it's a challenge for us in the future, but also an exciting opportunity where it really opens up the breadth of what roof profiles we really look at in the future in our entire vehicle lineup.
Great. We have a few more questions on exterior, but Lisa, maybe from the interior point of view, what do you think electrification is really means for interiors, and how is it transforming the approach to interior design?
Yeah, good question. Electrification, I think, offers really great opportunities for interior design, with new pure electric platforms as well in the future. There we really have the opportunity to work with new platforms, newly designed components in new layouts. And there we can really, on the interior, define the space, change the layouts, and it offers a more progressive shift in terms of design, which I think is really exciting.
I mean, we can actually deliver the proper Scandinavian living room. I think that's something we're looking forward to, is that electrification brings that chance to really open the space, put in the kind of the living room feel that we've always wanted. And we're super excited about where this leads now.
Yeah, I mean, we heard it said from someone yesterday that previously in floors, for example, where you hid a multitude of sins, whereas now obviously it opens up and you can do so much more. Yeah, you can do so much more with that. Tidjane, again, on the you mentioned sculptural inspiration for that shape. So how does the team take a kind of abstract form like that and execute it in the exterior?
Well, I mean, I think it really one inspiration for me personally was that sculptor Brancusi, as I talked about. But in principle, for our design language within Volvo overall, not just the C40, we follow this principle of starting with a solid volume and then really working it to the proportions and great stance, but using these carved principles in the breakup, the form itself, to help accentuate the appropriate proportion or vehicle archetype that it is. It is essentially put there to shave off and carve to give this lightweight attribute. So that's one of our philosophies within the design language from an exterior standpoint, is this monolithic carved volume that's also appearing as a lightweight principle, which is perceived by the consumer or the customer or the individual as being efficient because it appears to be lightweight. So even though it might be a high SUV or a long wagon, it's really designed in principle of proportions in the graphic breakup of the vehicle, not only with sculpture, but where we put certain lines or dividing the cabin to always communicate this sort of lightweight principle. And that goes back to our core Scandinavian values, which are also seen in the interior of this lightweight and efficiency going forward.
Yeah, we sometimes think of the design process as there's a reduction needs to come kind of after you sculpt, but this felt more like you started so minimally and took there. So I wondered if actually you still had to go through reducing and taking away, or if in fact it kind of came so cleanly from that form.
I mean, we always start with a character, whether that's a sketch or the first model. And I think part of our role is to keep to that design as we go through the process, because as you walk through a process, you end up with, of course, hard points, pedestrians, hinge points, everything that starts to work against you. And part of the key task of this very skilled team is to actually keep to the original design and philosophy and not kind of go off on the wrong direction. And that's really the skill in the game, is to still deliver what we started with, if not even better, without compromising and without kind of I mean, it's so easy just to add lines to solve problems and to add surfaces. The hard part is to keep the design so pure and so simple. And that's really the task of this team, is to achieve that. And I think we did a brilliant job actually on the C40.
Yeah, I mean, that principle itself relates to Scandinavian design principles, where it's reduce. And I always ask the designer, please communicate your design in three main lines: If you're putting more than that, then go home and try again. But it's more of like, what is, if you cannot capture a pure character in overall simplicity, then the character is not strong enough, let's say. So we revisit there. It's generally starting with more and reducing, and it's the exterior principle as well as interior. Can you take off just one more line every time? Does the design really hold itself together?
We have to do the same with our journalists sometimes. 3 lines.
Or send them home.
We've got loads of questions coming in, but and I'll turn to some of those. But maybe, Lisa, just another point on how, these wonderful topographies in the interior that you talked about in this landscape. Can you talk a little bit more about, what you're trying to do there and the inspiration for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think another element of Scandinavian design is about contrasting textures and bringing in elements of nature. And the topography graphic is really special because it's a tribute to our beautiful landscapes here in Sweden. And they're all around us. They're really inspiring for us. But this deco it has a nice little story because the pattern actually originates from a topography map, which is an area called Abisko, and that's northern Sweden. It's a national park close to Lapland, and that's very popular for its beautiful mountain scenery, together with hiking, where you would actually use one of these topography maps. And then the contours of the pattern, the digitally created pattern, that allows the light to shine through the different layers in different strengths. So it's, again, really representing this pure origin of this topography map of our Swedish landscape. Super nice.
One of the questions that come in from our audience here, I just want to point to, because it's kind of on this topic of inspiration. The question is, in terms of design inspiration, you talked about Thor's hammer. It's, of course, a key signature in your lighting, and the Scandinavian need for light. In what is a strange time for everyone, lockdowns, etc., what other new inspirations have you found? Lisa, you just gave a great example of one, I think. And our audience is kind of keen to hear if there's any other inspirations you'd like to point to.
I think we use a lot of fashion inspiration as well, where we bring in the colors and the materials. That is evident, I think, in the carpet. Maybe that's Rika. Do you want to talk about the carpet?
Yeah, come in, Rika.
Welcome, Rika. Hi, Rika.
Yeah, hi. Well, we get a lot of inspiration from, as we mentioned, from Scandinavian design, from fashion, architect, around people. You get inspired, whatever new is happening across the globe. And I have to say, now the hot topic is to save the environment and the planet around us. And for that, we try to bring as many as sustainable materials we could try with the new innovative technologies. And through this, I have to say, all the natural sustainable materials can be more premium as a new luxury.
And I think Rika touched on their architecture. That's always on the influence boards because of the light element. And it's something that you don't really understand until you come to Scandinavia, that it's an amazing light. I mean, when you walk out of an airport, you think, wow, all the colors are so intensive. And always with architecture, they're trying to bring out more light into the cabin and also internal light. And we start to see that. And that's the reason why we bring light into the deco and the open glass roof as well of the cabin. It's, I think it's also to do with the long winter in terms of dark night.
I was going to say, it can also be very grey.
Yes. But also then in the summer, you get lots of light. So you'll see the architecture really plays on open windows and letting light in. And in the winter, really getting a nice feeling inside the car or the living room in architecture.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this notable feature, and also on the interior, on the IP, and how that works. Lisa, just Rika, on the material side, because we have a lot of questions on sustainability, and you mentioned there about the premium aspect of some of these. Now, typically, automotive traditions of using leather and chrome as kind of signals for premium, and then now you're kind of moving away from that. So, in your view, is this actually enhancing the premium kind of quality of the design, or have you had to make some compromises too to stay sustainable?
I would say we didn't compromise. We actually raised our standards to bring premium sustainable materials. And leather, we know it's a sustainable, more durable material. But for our electric cars, We want to bring the light feeling inside the interior. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of new technologies through which recycled natural materials can be lightweight and can be more premium, like the way you have seen in the video, the suede textile, then the natural wool textile. They are much more premium and modern for us, and they fit really well with our Scandinavian design language.
We have an overwhelming number of questions around sustainability goals. I'm going to paraphrase them a little bit because some of them might be appropriate for kind of going in more depth with some of the purchasing or manufacturing team. But in broadly speaking, the audience is really interested in how things like net carbon zero, attempts to reduce CO2 in the overall, let's say, supply chain production, development of vehicles, as well as obviously the tailpipe, and how perhaps is that influencing or impacting on your design process? Whether it's in the dimensions or in the material selection. Perhaps, Robin, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, as a company purpose, it's one of our 3 key elements now. I mean, we put it, equal to safety, that it's that important. So we have a strategy, and as I said, we're on a journey to full electrification, which is a big point of the whole sustainability element is to get the cars electric. Then we'll also have a full strategy heading towards, full circular economy, in a sense that we get to that point where we are climate neutral. And the key player as well in this is the materials and how we develop these new materials in the right way, using as many natural and recycled materials as we can. That's a fundamental part, combined with also full electrification is a key player. And then it's really about getting the maximum range for your charge in terms of keeping the vehicles light, looking at aerodynamics. So they're all kind of ingredients of part of the journey of how we keep moving forward. And the C40 is a really good example of one of those stepping stones to get to that 2030 vision. Yeah.
Great. So I think maybe we'll bring back some of the others as well. Perhaps we can talk a little bit UX because we have a few questions. So I think Thomas is in the wings. Yeah. Great. So first of all, can you give us a little bit of a sense, because obviously you're working with Google and the Google Assist, how much of this is a collaborative process, design-wise, development-wise, with Google? What bits are Volvo, which bits are Google? Can you give us a little bit of sense of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very close partnership with Google. So it's a platform. It offers an environment that we can build software in. It provides a number of capabilities like Google Assistant and a number of applications like Google Maps, etc., Play Store, and those sorts of things. And we work very closely with them to better understand what are our customers doing with the applications. How do we make the tools easier? What's information that's missing? How is the customer journey different in the vehicle versus when you're on the mobile phone, that kind of thing. But a lot of it is very much Volvo signature, right? Each of the cars has their own capabilities, so we need to provide information about those systems to the user. That's something that we in-house develop and work on. The home screen, how we present settings and information, that's a lot on us that we work with in-house. So it's really a partnership on at the platform level, but we do a lot of the experience development.
And one of the questions from our audience, a little bit about the structure of the team, is does UX sit under design, which I believe it does, because here we are, but does it sit under design, and are you responsible for the cross-platform UX, so web, mobile, car, in terms of how that functionality works?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really important part, and a big change we did quite recently was to bring the UX designers into the design organization. And before it was actually with the engineering organization, and we had a lot of frustrated UX designers saying, I should be part of the design community, which is exactly right. So we've brought them into the design department, but also we've increased the collaboration with the rest of the the different departments in the company, and it's really played out well.
Yeah.
I have to say Tom's doing a great job with the team. We've got really, really good collaboration and far more consistent language from the first touch point with the brand, with your phone and the apps, all the way through into the in-car experience, and also with .com and Volvo on Call. But Tom, you might want to.
Yeah, we can as a design team, we come together or in UX crits and reviews, looking at how the whole customer journey plays out from shopping to ownership when you're outside of the car or when you're in the car. And so we're looking at all of these different ways that we can make people's lives easier, provide the right information at the right moment. Because the team is sitting together, we can collaborate in different ways and bring up different ideas and really break down the silos that exist when teams are sometimes separate. And I think it also creates a good collaboration with the folks here, right? How does that integrate, the UX integrate with the interior and the exterior? So it is a very holistic view that we're aiming to take.
That's really interesting for me, because I'm wondering, we always see almost a potential conflict between the strive for simplicity, certain minimalism form of, but then the tendency to ram in with screens, be overloaded, overconnected. How do you find that balance? And is that something as a design team, do you actively debate around? Do you kind of go back and forth with? Maybe just open it up for us.
This is it's hard. It's a bit like exterior design and interior design, and in a sense, color materials. We spend our time taking things away and keeping to our kind of philosophy of, we only put there the really important things to the customer and don't overload them with every feature that comes in and every user experience that the different departments want to kind of put on our customers. So we spend a lot of time actually questioning ourselves, is there ways that we can deliver these features automatically so the customer doesn't need to think about all this technology? They just get a really clear, easy to use user experience inside the car. Tom, I mean, you're the expert on this.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we do is we create prototypes, models of the car, and we brainstorm together to see how does this feel from a, just a passenger driving or a driver perspective. Where does the information sit? And with our prototypes, we sort of try out different things to make sure that we're not overloading the customer. A lot of research and prototyping, I think, goes into that to make sure that it's really feeling right. And as you said, simplifying, taking things away, not because we just want to eliminate things. That's absolutely not true, but it's rather providing the information at the right moment and when it's most relevant, and making the most relevant information the thing that's most visible. And so that's a constant iterative thing. And I think with the software that we have now, we can also update that more frequently as we continue to learn.
Yeah, interesting, because obviously there'll be over-the-air updates on this as well, right? So that it's kind of an ongoing process, I suppose, as well. We have some questions. People really want to talk about the grille, so we might bring Tijan back into this one as well. The decision, for example, to keep the grille for the XC60 recharge, and then maybe talk a little bit about the distinction you may see. Is there a distinction with the XC40 recharge front versus the C40 front? So we want to know about the grille. What is it? And you've kind of said it's an important design language for going forward as well.
Yeah, I mean, that has been one of the biggest changes and challenges as we move to electrification in the future, where you simply don't need a grille anymore. So that has led us down a path of innovation, I would say. With challenge comes innovation, and that's why it's such an exciting time to be an exterior designer, and all designers. But from an exterior perspective, I think that's the biggest challenge in the front end. How do you keep an identity or a face in the front of the car? with removing one of those elements of the face itself. So in C40, I mean, that car is fully electric, so there is no need for air in the upper grille area, or what used to be a grille. So that is closed off to communicate that principle of electrification. Where in XC60, it's not a fully electric vehicle. It is electrified, but there's also the normal PHEV version as well. So that is a transition vehicle, or is a journey, as you usually call it, Robin, where that has a face in that context. But as we move to 100% electrification in the future, you'll see more and more of the new language of a face coming for Volvo.
And similarly, we had another audience questions about integrating sensors into that front end. Obviously, there's more and more. Is this a challenge in the front in particular with face, and how is that influencing design?
No, it's not a challenge at all, is it?
I mean, we always laugh because the engineers, quite proud of themselves, walk through the door with parts and components going, right, we need to put these in the car. And we're all like, oh my God, here we go again. And it is, it's always a challenge, but of course that creates as well innovation and taking these parts and integrating the sensors in a really good way. But of course, our objective is always to deliver a really clean theme and really good surfacing, but also integrate all this technology.
Yeah, I think the integration point that you just mentioned is probably the key attribute there. As we try to reduce or simplify as a part of the Scandinavian design language principle, and then being asked to put these bits and bobs all over in all the corners of the vehicle, that's definitely a challenge. But again, it comes innovation. And over time, those components will shrink in size generally. Sometimes they get bigger first before they reduce. But it's you can assimilate in a way to headlamp technology, where over the years, I mean, it has definitely reduced in size and cost for getting higher spec headlamps and LEDs in all vehicles. So that's pretty much now standard, where it wasn't 5 years ago. And then they start to get more technology and grow in size again before they reduce. So that's a part of integration of technology, not just in the exterior. But I would say, yes, that is one of the big challenges and exciting opportunities for innovation.
Great. We have a couple minutes left. Just an assurance to our audience, there's more questions that we can get to here, but perhaps we can talk with the team afterwards and get you some of the questions, and we can facilitate some of the answers back even after the show. I wanted to ask you, Robin, because in a couple of our conversations, including the last Car Design Dialogues, you've often pointed to the P1800 as an important part of the DNA, and I believe in the C40 there's a character line which is directly referencing that. And can you just talk a bit about why that's important for Volvo's DNA and why you're particularly carrying that forward into this new era as well?
No, I mean, we've got such a great heritage. I mean, it goes back to 1927. And of course, it's our responsibility to make sure we capture the DNA in the future products. So we reflected back, and one of the cars that really stood out was the P1800. It's a beautiful car. It's a really emotional statement as a piece of design. And that influenced our three concepts that we launched in 2014. And those concepts really then influenced our current range of cars, and still continues to influence our current range of cars. So there's definitely a red thread through there, but of course our responsibility as well is to be really modern and progressive with our design. But you can, there are little kind of snippets in there, and one of them on the C40 is this key line that comes across the rear quarter and into the side glass. So, and there's also, I mean, the designers are constantly reference into our history, and I think we should continue to do that as well. Yeah, Tijan?
Yeah, I would say that's a crucial and important element is to reference to our history. It's an advantage that our brand has over many others, including a lot of the new startup companies, that we come from a past, and to be proud of it, not by taking elements literally one to one. And that's why I think the line on the C40, for those who would recognize that kind of relationship, is where that sophistication and capturing comes in. So it's not a literal retrofuturism in a way of doing the same thing again, but building upon where we were in the past and be proud of it.
Great. Well, we've got about a minute or two left. I wanted to just look ahead a bit. I mean, it was referenced earlier. Lisa brought it up about the potential for electric vehicles, what's coming. I think we know in future we'll have a more pure EV platform, skateboard platforms, etc. There'll be new opportunities. What's exciting you most as you look ahead now? What are you most looking forward to in terms of what innovations we can bring from a design point of view as this transition moves further ahead?
I would say certainly the things that open up. I mean, for instance, we talked earlier about a Scandinavian living room. For sure, that's one thing I think that will bring the more space. It will change the proportions of the vehicles as soon as we don't have to protect for a combustion engine in the front. And I think that change of proportions will give us a modern flavor to the cars. We'll have an enhanced user experience because that is also something that we can start to develop, especially as we bring in things like autonomous drive, then it really changes the game in that sense. I think the challenge with materials will actually open up really big opportunities because it will make us creative in terms of sustainable materials and new types of materials, and that will create, again, innovation and really exciting elements. So all in all, I think it's, for a design team, this is a really exciting time to be developing a new range of cars. And we only see it as a positive as we move into full electrification.
Wonderful. Well, we're really excited to be there with you on this and to continue talking to you, Robin, and to the team. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. As I mentioned, we had more audience questions than we could possibly get to in the half an hour Q&A. So we really we'll get those to you, and let's reprise this any ways that we can. Thanks again to all of you.
No, thank you, Chris, and look forward to receiving these questions, and we'll follow them up and answer as many as we can.
Yeah,
so thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rika. Thank you, Lisa, as well there too. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Thanks again, and to our audience, thanks for a great opening start. Your questions and comments have been fantastic. We had a poll, which I can just briefly reveal. Almost 60% of you put sustainability as the most important, I should say climate change as the most important challenge going ahead. So that just echoes perfectly what we were talking about with the team there from Volvo. We've got a lot more to come. In about 10 minutes, we'll have a session with Alcantara on materials, and a lot more to come throughout the day. So stick with us. Thanks again to everyone.